is Amanda Kandawire-Khoza, and I am a first officer on the Airbus A380 at Emirates, and I'm a 43 alumni. Right, so I did all my training at Rand Airport. I was at a school called SAFTA, so I did my PPL and my CPL there. So a lot of people like asking me how I funded my PPL and CPL. And so initially my PPL I did through a bank loan, and when the money ran dry, I signed up to be an ops cadet at the school that I was working at. So I used to basically work for flying hours, and the school then paid me in turn from the work that I did to my flying hours. And probably about a year and a half after I started my PPL, I got a bursary, and that paid for the rest of my training. So after I got my comm, I went on the dreaded job hunt, and I honestly struggled to find work. I was just too unqualified for a lot of the jobs I was applying for, and I even started applying for ops jobs. So I went to Botswana to go look for work in Maun, and I ended up getting a job offer only to not be able to get a working permit. So I came back home and I applied for an ops job at Comair. So it was while I was working at Comair that I then received another bursary, and that bursary sent me down to 43 to come do my license renewal, my MCC course and my instructor rating. So I came to 43 and I did my MCC course and my instructor rating. So those of you that don't know what an MCC course, it's your multi-crew course. And basically when you initially start working, if you fly in a small company or single piston aircraft, it's all single pilot operations. But once you start flying in bigger aircrafts, you start flying with another pilot. So that MCC course helps build that coordination and teamwork in terms of multi-crew cockpits, because when you're working with someone else, it's not you, there's a lot of CRM that's involved, there's a lot of teamwork that's involved. So the MCC course is good in helping you build all those qualifications and attributes to help you work in a multi-crew aircraft. And when it comes to instructor's rating, so instructor's rating is something initially I wasn't too sure I wanted to do, but once I started doing it, I actually fell in love with the art of teaching. And the surprising thing for me is how much we actually learn on that course in itself. So I used to joke about how they give us a comm license and we only start learning these things once you do instructor's rating. So it was actually just such a beneficial course, and I think the beautiful thing, especially for people that love instructing, is even after you left a flying school, you can still use the qualification, because airlines need training captains, charter companies need training captains. So it's that one qualification that's never in vain after you've left a flying school. So I was at 43 for just under a year. And my favorite part about the whole experience here is just the community of this whole place, because everyone that's here, even though I'm a South African and the school's in my country, Port Alfred is just so far from where I am. So everyone is away from their family, their friends and everything they know. So the relationships that you build here, I'm still friends with the friends that I made at 43. So my favorite part is the community. So flying school for me was an absolute blast. I just enjoyed the whole experience really, and given it is a tough experience, especially from the beginning, because everything new, I mean the flying is new, you're just trying to juggle the whole flying school and exams. And I was in a school where when we did our PPL, you did your flying and your exams at the same time. It was only when I got to my con did I sit and do ground school and then my exams and continue with the flying. So that was a challenge in itself of juggling everything. So probably in hindsight, now looking back, it would have been easier had everything been broken up. So if I did, let's say, my ground school and then my exams and finish that and then continue with my PPL, that would have been a lot easier for me. But with that being said, one of my biggest challenges with my training was the finances. So because money kind of came in, and when the money came in, I'd fly what I could until the money was finished. So because of that, there was a lot of start-stop in my training. So the last thing you need when you're so early in your career is inconsistency. So for me, that was the hardest part, because when you start flying again after you haven't flown in a while, you kind of have to catch up what you missed. And the thing is about flying, it's like riding a bike. You kind of need to do it and keep doing it to get better at it. And then when you take a break and you get on it again, you kind of have to backpedal to be like, okay, so what did I get at the last time? And then you build from there. So I think that hardest part was just keeping my personal standard going when I knew that I hadn't flown in a while. But once I got to like my CPL level and money was not an issue, then everything was just a lot easier, because I also didn't have to focus on the money problems and I could just focus on studying itself. So my best advice for people that are still doing their training, so whether it's your PPL or your CPL, is just be consistent with yourself and put the work in. Because we all know how much fun flying is and how fun the flying school is. But without the work, it's just all in vain really. So you really have to put the work in for you to like reap the rewards later in life. And the thing is about exams, you gotta just knuckle down and study, because 75% doesn't come easy. So when you put the work in, you get the rewards. And for a lot of people, they think that 18 months is a long time, and it isn't. So as soon as you start writing those exams, write all of them and get them out the way so that you don't find yourself having to have things lapse and you start over. So I think whatever part of your training that you are in, it's important to focus wholeheartedly on doing well, so that when you move on to the next phase, you don't have things from your previous exercises like lingering over your next journey. The thing I love the most now about airline flying, one, the destinations that you get to go to, because home is always good, but it's just so nice seeing other places of the world and meeting people from different parts of the world. So besides flying, I've always been in love with traveling itself. So now that I get to do it as part of my job, it honestly is so great. And personally for me, sunsets are my favorite, because I hate the fact that I would have woken up at 2 o'clock in the morning to see a sunrise. So I prefer sunset flying. But the one thing that I do miss, and everyone laughs when I say this, but I miss flying close to the ground, because the view at 4,000 feet is not the same as the view at 40,000 feet. So that's what I miss. So when it comes to the selection process for airlines, everyone kind of wants to know what's the process like how many gates do you have to jump through, and just generically, most airlines interviews will consist of actual interview. So your interview can range from the tell us about yourself questions to all the technical things and your flying background. And then the second part will be your compass test and your psychometric testing. And there'll be then a sim check. So most likely the sim check will be on something you haven't flown before, because it just depends on the fleet that the company has that you're applying to. But most companies will at least give you a profile for your sim check so that you know what it is that you'll be expected to do. So if it will be a circuit followed by an ILS followed by an engine failure, you'll at least have a brief idea of what's expected of you on that sim check. And lastly will be your medical. So it's usually a 4-stage process. Obviously this is dependent on the company that you are applying to. And when it comes to your interview itself, so the interview, when it comes to technical questions, I used to read a book called Ace the Pilot Technical Interview, and that's a really good book to have. So go buy it, go read it. And there's good websites like Latest Pilot Jobs. They have a whole website dedicated to pilot interviews with different airlines, so that's a good place to go to look for stuff like that. And then one of the other things I wanted to discuss was your hours basically for your ATP license. So on paper, you need a minimum of 1,500 hours in order to then test for your ATP. But a lot of people don't necessarily test at 1,500 hours, because your ATP is your one license that is very specific in terms of the type of flying that you've been doing. So I could have 2,000 hours in order to test for my ATP, and my friend can also have 2,000 hours in order to test for her ATP. But depending on the type of flying we've been doing will determine the type of hours we've been logging. So we may have different PIC hours and different instrument hours and different night hours. And the thing is about your ATP is you have to have a minimum of each type of those hours in order to be able to do your test. So for people, let's say that didn't instruct and joined airlines early, by the time you get to your ATP, you may be short of PIC hours. And then you may get someone else who did instruct, but all their instruction was, let's say, day hours, and they don't have enough night hours. So by the time they get to that level where they'd want to test for the ATP, they're still short of those specific hours. So testing for your ATP license is not as black and white as it initially appears to be with the 1,500 hours. So it's always important, just at the back of your head, to keep in mind the type of flying that you do, because that will determine then when you'll be able to test for your ATP license. Thanks so much for watching my interview, and don't forget to like and subscribe on my YouTube channel.